illegal, we're going to have to seize that district. Hey, Sydney, you're under arrest.
My father and Sid were arrested off the landing here. So the following day, to let them know that we weren't going to quit fishing, Alison and I, my younger sister, set a net up there at the trestle, about a mile and a half from here, upriver.
In 1854, Territorial Governor Isaac Stevens made treaties with all the Indians in Washington. The Indians gave up all claims to the land in the territory except for special areas reserved to them. In return, they were to receive payments and were promised that they and their descendants would always have the right to fish in their usual and accustomed grounds. Valerie Bridges grew up learning how to fish here on the Nisqually, where her grandfather fished.
Valerie, you heard when your grandfather told of a white man who came with promises of gold, saying, sell us the land that lies under the sun. You'll live free as long as the rivers run, as long as the rivers run.
We set the net and waited for the state. We're just going to let them know that we're not going to quit fishing. We have this fishing right. It's a treaty, supreme law of the land under their constitution, and we're not going to give up our fishing rights. There are treaties throughout the United States being broken. That's really what it is, a treaty we're fighting for. Treaties throughout the United States. We resisted when they did try to take our net because it is our property, and not only protecting our property, but ourselves, because we too have been clubbed, night raids, tear gas, and we're getting sick and tired of it.
He promised us gold, he promised us grain, he promised us houses safe from the rain. He said that his words could not be undone, but would last for as long as the rivers run, as long as the rivers run.
A lot of people have asked, you know, how long I've been involved in this, or my family. And I go back to when my little girl was 2.5 years old, my youngest girl, and she'll be 19 next month. When she was 2.5 years old was the very first time that her dad was arrested and did 30 days in jail. This was her first experience in going into a judge's courtroom, if you can call it JP courtroom.
Maiselle Bridges, Bill Frank's daughter, Valerie and Alison and Suzette's mother.
And they did this in the space of 2-3 hours. Like, they took him in, they sentenced him and put him right into jail. So my girls, all 3 of them, have been involved in this fishing struggle practically all their lives.
Leshai said no, he was caught, he was hung. The treaty was made, nothing else could be done. We said, we'll keep our promises if you keep just one. Let us fish for as long as the rivers run, as long as the rivers run.
The U.S. Supreme Court confirms that the treaty is still valid, but they say the state also has the right to impose conservation regulations. The Washington Fisheries and Game Department say that to conserve the fish, the mouth of the rivers must remain closed to net fishing. But the river mouths always were the fishing grounds of the Indians. And once again, Al Bridges has to hawk a motor to bail a daughter out of jail.
Valerie, you knew all this history well, but you saw your father being taken to jail, and you vowed you would fight for your people till we'd won what was ours for as long as the rivers run, as long as... We're gonna fish when the spirits they feed. We're gonna fish when the spirits they feed. You gotta go when the spirits they feed. We're gonna fish all
And then in 1964, we just said, well, we're not moving no more. And one of the first things we did was to organize a Indian organization. And this is what we did. We called ourselves the Survival American Indian Association. And our main goal and purpose of this organization was to fight for treaty rights. And from that time on, the fight has been building up, and gradually it's really, you know, taken up our full time.
In 1968, the Survival Organization enlisted the support of sympathetic young people to help keep a 24-hour guard on the nets of the Indian fishermen, because if the nets and boats were unguarded, they would be stolen by fishermen or destroyed by sportsmen.
If you want something and if it's yours, you've got to fight to keep, and our people just aren't grasping this idea. They think that one of these days the government's going to feel sorry for them and give them what they want. This isn't so. So we have these young kids of today. Right now they see what's happening to the Indians, so they come forward to offer their help, and we've accepted their help.
Fishermen and sheriff deputies came at night, making arrests and seizing nets, but the young people held on. As fall turned into winter, they built temporary shelters and lived in them. Buffy Ste visited the encampment. To dramatize the fishing rights, the Frank Landing encampment moved into Olympia and set a net at the mouth of the dam where there is a fish ladder. The fishery officers and police responded, giving the public a chance to see the kind of action that usually takes place under the cover of night on the Nisqually River. Come gather round me and I'll sing you a song. I'll tell you a story of people that were strong. We live with nature in harmony, obeying the laws that were taught to me, greeting a stranger with an open hand, sheltered and fed him and called him friend. Once I was wild as the eagle in the sky, free to love and to live and to die. I roamed this land from the mountains to the sea, brother to the elk, the bear and the deer. Up the rivers, the lakes, and the redwood trees, this was my land as far as I could see. I had no jails nor prison farm, no barbed wire to do me harm. I paid no one to rule over me, no one owned the shade of the tree. I swam the... Of the people who came to help in '68, only one stayed. Sid Mills, a Yakima Indian stationed at Fort Lewis, announced he would not go back to the Army. Instead, he remained at Frank's Landing and married Suzette. A year later, dozens of cases were still in court. The survival of American Indian Association was broke. So once again, the family at Franks Landing was alone on the Nisqually River. The day came that Al, Sid, Valerie, and Alison were all in jail. Suzette had just had a baby, Poughton. So Maiselle Bridges and Norma Frank were left to fish by themselves.
Illegal gear, and it's going to be taken.
You must take us with it, because we're not letting go fishing under Medicine Creek Treaty, and we're both all members. We are too.
You're poaching is what you're doing.
We're not either. You're the one that's poaching. You're the ones that's been poaching on our land.
Hook that in.
We're not taking this net. This is the last net we got.
Both under arrest for fishing and cold water.
And then something happened that was felt around the world. A group of Indians captured and held Alcatraz Island and claimed it in the name of all tribes. Indians from all over came together to experience unity and strength. The girls and Sid went down with Poughton as soon as they learned about it. Elle and Maiselle and Curly came a little later with a carload of food and clothes sent by the Washington Indians.
You know, we're going to close it across. I'm going to close it where it's
Yes,
they work for the United States. What did they hold?
They held that the state regulate, or they allow the first aid boats and the unitors to come right in within 4 miles of our area.